Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is supposed to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, that I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now. New video. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Addams Family 2 movie. This is the animated version that came out in October 2021 last year, but I saw at Kids Club at the weekend. So if you're new to asexuality, you don't understand what it means. Asexuality is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction. Asexuality, however, is a huge spectrum. And I am personally a sex repulsed asexual these days. For me, I'm not sex repulsed for other people who like it, enjoy it, want it. And it's consensual, but for me personally, and I don't like nudity, so I always look to find movies that have no sex in them and no nudity, and they're still enjoyable. So when I saw the Addams Family 2, I'm pleased to confirm there is no sex in it at all whatsoever. I don't know if you could say there's a bit of nudity in it. This is an animation we're talking about. One of the characters has got no top on and dusts his pants at one point, and he turns into an octopus. But there you go. So yeah, this is a very interesting thing because I don't like horror movies, so I can't stand them. But my friend Sam, they're like, "Why are you going to see Addams Family 2? Because it's it's horror." And I'm like, well, it's animated, so I'm okay with that. And I did actually used to watch The Munsters with my parents, like a really old-fashioned movie, which is basically like the Addams Family, and used to be on TV. My parents used to watch a load, so I could actually stand to watch that. But yes, in general, I don't like horror, whereas lots of asexuals do. So anyway, the Addams Family 2, what is the storyline? If you don't want spoilers, please do not watch this video until after you've watched the movie. But if you don't mind spoilers, you don't mind being told the plot, then here we go. So Wednesday, who is the Addams Family daughter, or so she thinks, is indeed the central character to this particular film. I haven't seen the first Addams Family. This is the second one, so I haven't seen the first, so I don't know what happens in the first animated movie. But in the second, what happens is Wednesday, who's basically their daughter, she's having this identity crisis, and she's very, very good. The character in the animated character is very, very good. You can see how they're very unconventional. The Addams Family, they're very different. They kind of have a good time on doom and gloom, and Wednesday's always picking on her brother Pudsley, and this happens throughout the whole of the movie. At one point she's got a voodoo doll, and everything the voodoo doll does, Pudsley does as well, which is quite a funny scene, actually. I have to say that's one of my most funniest scenes in the movie. But anyway, Wednesday is at this school, and all the other kids are normal, and parents come along like parents' evening, and they're doing these scientific experiments. And Wednesday is able to take the personality traits of things like an octopus and inject their personality traits into humans. This is one of the experiments she did and succeeded with. But unfortunately, the experiment goes to extremes, and later on, that person in the Addams Family turns into an octopus in the end. I won't say everything, but yes, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, throughout the movie, it doesn't just take on personality traits, it actually takes on the tentacles and embodies a whole octopus in the end. So that's very interesting. But when Wednesday's doing these experiments, clearly she's way above everyone else in her class. She's really advanced for her years, very, very intelligent. She doesn't really get fazed by anything. She's not really emotional, but having said that she's not really emotional, there's one thing that does get to her in the movie, and that's the fact she has this identity crisis, because there's this guy who sees her doing these scientific experiments, and he's a professor, and he wants her insider knowledge on how she was able to inject a human personality traits into the octopus, or vice versa. In this case, it's literally the octopus injected into the person, right? And so, yeah, and so this professor wants to know her secret, like what's the secret formula, because basically you find out later on he wants to take over the world with it, right? And he convinces Wednesday that she is his daughter. And so but first of all, he enlists the help of this guy who's like, looks like a lawyer type of person. Probably isn't really a lawyer, but this is what it's meant to be. And this lawyer comes to the house when they're going on a family road trip. So Mr. Addams decides that he is basically losing Wednesday because she's growing older. She doesn't want hugs from him or anything like that. And she doesn't really want any, she doesn't really want him to spend much time with her and play guitar, whatever he used to do with her. She just wants to like be on her own and all that type of thing. So he decides to call for a family vacation, which to her is absolute torture. But she likes torturing, if you like, Pudsley, which is her brother, throughout the movie. And anyway, and so they go on this family trip, but just as they're about to leave, this guy comes up who's meant to be a lawyer type of guy, saying that Wednesday was a kid that was in with a lot of other babies, and she was switched at birth, and therefore she's not really. It's questionable where she's the Addams family daughter, and he needs a DNA sample, right? And anyway, so she goes on this trip, and Mr. Addams is like not going to tell her what this guy is up to, but throughout the trip, he comes after Wednesday, and she eventually finds out what this lawyer guy wants, and that's suspected that the Addams family isn't really her family. She takes a sample of hair from her dad and realizes that it's not a DNA match. She ends up going away from the family, running away and with Lurch, and trying to find her so-called real dad, who's the professor. And she finds him at his very strange house with his very strange, like ostrich-looking wife. And it's very bizarre. And in the end, he's convinced her because he uses his machine and says, yeah, it's a DNA match. So, and she's like, oh, I was, because she's been getting more and more distant from them because she's been so different. And so anyway, he convinces her that she is his daughter, and the Addams family still come looking for her because she went off with Lurch, right, to find her professor dad. And when the Addams family finally catch up, she's basically saying, you're not my parents, this is my dad. And he's convinced her that he's so like her because they both like doing experiments, both intelligent, both think a certain way. So anyway, to cut a long story short, what happens is the Addams family get trapped. They get invited to stay at the home, but they get trapped instead. And the professor is going to use Wednesday's own formula for getting personality traits of basically animals, well, octopuses and animals, injected into the person. And he wants to do that with the Addams family, basically, and change them all into animals and not their self. And then he starts talking about taking on the world, but she's wised up to this. Wednesday has a little bit known to us. And when there was the lawyer guy, he had got this other big bulky guy to come with him. He apparently told her Wednesday what was going on, and Wednesday's Lurch had been in like some sort of place with this big bulky guy. I don't know if they went to like a detention center together, or can't remember what it was. And so Wednesday suspected that the professor wasn't telling the truth. And it's found that the professor lied the DNA samples. He just rigged the machine. And eventually Wednesday realizes that she's got to save her family because the professor guy is trying to literally inject them and take their life over and literally make them into animals, basically. And so, he's just taking Wednesday's formula to rule the world, not because he actually cares about people or because he's really her dad. And so she finds this out, and the guy who's turned into an octopus is coming to help, like, get rid of him and chuck him in the sea. It's very, very interesting. But the whole point of the story is that it's good to be different. So she finds out that the Addams family, the dad is really her dad. He's got a wig on, so that's why there was no DNA match with the hair. And they're definitely her family. And she said that she realizes that it's good to be different and it's okay to be different from everyone, including your family, basically, as well. And, you know, it's something to be celebrated, basically. And they're like, oh, that's what the D stands for in Addams family, and different, basically. So, yeah, it's supposed to be a really good story. I did like it. I did enjoy it. I did think it's worth going to see. I found it a nice movie to watch. It's a bit predictable, as in the sense you know they're going to go on this long journey and have this revelation, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was really nice. I thought the character of Wednesday was played so well. I actually felt very strong emotions towards her character, even though she was meant to be quite emotionless. So I really appreciate that. There is a love story though with Pudsley. He's trying to look for which is Wednesday's brother. He's trying to look for a girlfriend throughout most of the movie, and eventually he gets one. And so, you know, and he's kissing her. And also Morticia, who's Wednesday's mum, and her father keep kissing and stuff like that in the beginning of the movie. So if you're not a romantic person, you might not like those bits of the movie. But otherwise, I thought it was really good. I thought it was really beautifully illustrated, nice story. Funny bits with the voodoo doll and the blowing up of the mountains, and I just thought Pudsley does that. He gets like this remote control, blows it up, and I thought it was really good. So I definitely recommend watching it. I'd also recommend going on self dates if you don't already, because it's fantastic for the soul. It really helps, you know, just to feel special with yourself and to treat yourself like you love and adore yourself, which of course you should do, because you're damn well worth it. Anyway, I hope you join this video review of this film, The Addams Family 2 animation. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video. Lots of love, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye. Bye.